preface to this one. For all I know, DK Metcalf and George Pickens have become best buds. George is absolutely thrilled to have DK in the fold, and they're about to make beautiful music together. But then, I don't know that. So let's talk about this. Good morning to you. Good Wednesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Steelers. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into hockey and or baseball, I also offer daily shots, Penguins and Pirates, in the same place that you found this. When Metcalf was part of that media session last week on the South Side that I was covering, he was asked about Pickens, and this was his exceptional response.
Football is the ultimate team game, first off. So, you shouldn't be on the team if, everybody doesn't want the football. I will say that. And, just to come into this organization, just to know George from the little conversations that we had in passing. Great player, watching from afar. The receiver coach calls him a freak show. I think that's a fitting name for him, with the circus catches that he makes. But I'm just here to, try to instill any wisdom or, any knowledge that he allows me to, and, vice versa. I feel like there's some things that I can learn from him that he does. And like you said, I played with great receivers like Tyler Lockett, Freddie Swain, Josh Gordon was on the team my rookie year, so I've been around some very talented receivers to where, I know how to, take a backseat and learn from, guys like that, and, willing to do the same if the case may be that year.
Now, the first thing I notice in there is that Metcalf opens up wanting the football. That right away demonstrates that he's been prepared for this to an extent. And right there, he takes the high road. He, of course, also wants the football. All of the best wide receivers want the football. Actually, all of the worst wide receivers want the football and think that the reason that they are the worst wide receivers is that they're not getting the football. But that's a good start. From there, he goes on to hand Pickens his flowers. Freak show brings up Zach Azzani making that reference in their meeting that day at the facility. Does it all right. Maybe, just maybe, there won't even be smoke to this situation, much less a fire. But here's something that has nothing to do with whether or not Pickens and Metcalf will hit it off, nothing to do with Pickens' very obvious maturity issues, and everything to do with something else. And that's that Pickens is entering a contract year, meaning he's got one more year, then he can be a free agent. This, in the National Football League, makes young players nervous. They will see, hear, and read about players who didn't get what's commonly known in the business as a second contract, meaning you have a rookie contract, and then are you going to be good enough to get a second one? And then take all of that and blow it up times, 14, and you have how wide receivers tend to handle this sort of thing. Pickens doesn't need to be a 4-star agent to be able to look at the Steelers signing Metcalf for 5 years and $150 million to see that that's the player who was just handed his bag, or what he would have seen as his bag in his mind. Now, it's not inconceivable that the Steelers could pay 2 big-time wide receivers 2 big-time salaries. We just saw in Cincinnati what it looks like when you hand almost everything, well, other than what Joe Burrow is making, to both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And parenthetically here, they still have to pay Trey Hendrickson, so they might actually have field a team of 4 players. There'll be 4 great players, but there'll be 4 players. So here again, you're not thinking of this if you're Pickens. This isn't a great situation for me. So how does he react to it? Well, how does he generally respond to negativity? Not very well. Could he be placated in some form? Could he be sold on the idea that, hey, if Pickens is out there, you're not going to get double covered? Could he be sold on something as simple as Mason Rudolph being back, since the two of them had an outstanding rapport on and off the field? Could he be pumped up that, hey, listen, if you go out there and have your big year, your breakout year, this is the perfect timing for it because you're about to become, Chase and Higgins or whoever, or Metcalf. Sure, I suppose anything's possible. I don't know that I see it as likely. I don't know that I see any scenario that's involved Pickens to date where you've said, hey, that really went smoothly. Wasn't sure it would, but it did. Well, actually, hang on. I'm going to correct myself on that. There was one, and that was when the Steelers were playing in that ridiculously cold, rainy game in Baltimore late in the 2023 season, and the Steelers knew that they weren't going to be able to throw the ball, and Mason and a lot of other guys on the team surrounded George before the game, during the game, and told him, listen, you gotta stick with us. We just need you to block. Just take the game off from receiving. Don't worry about it. And afterward, when Pickens did exactly that and did it quite well, and of course the Steelers won, he's actually given a game ball for that. That I thought was, wow, that was really a big step. And I was in the locker room near Pickens' stall. This was after that, obviously, when Rudolph came over and got through everyone to give Pickens just this big bro hug and to tell him that he was proud of him. So can this go well? Yes, it can. We'll see. We'll come back, J1Q.
This segment of Daily Shot is brought to you by our good friends at Mike's Beer Bar. They're located on Federal Street, directly across from PNC Park. Mike has more than 500 beers on tap, including from more than 50 local breweries. Stop in and say hello. Tell Mike we sent you. Mike's Beer Bar.
Today's J1Q comes from David Tripp, who says, DKY. The Steelers want Aaron Rodgers for $30 or $40 million. Do they think he's going to take us to the Super Bowl? Steelers have got to stop signing old players thinking that they're right there, close to a championship. You know what's funny, David? I could take the general thought, stick it over here, just slide it over into isolation and say, I'd have no problem with the Steelers pursuing a championship by going out and getting themselves a 42-year-old four-time MVP who's fresh off throwing 25 touchdowns last season. I could do that. I could even delay the building of the quarterback room, or the rebuilding of that room. But this isn't it, as you're pointing out. This really isn't it. This isn't an opportunity, much less the opportunity to do such a thing. You can't, at least not with a clear, objective mind, look at a team that loses its final 5 games and gets just completely outclassed in a couple of those and say, oh, yeah, right there on the precipice, can feel it. Like if you're in Buffalo, you can say something like that. If you're in Baltimore, you can say something like that. If you're in Detroit, and you're, of course, remembering all the really important players that the Lions lost to injury late in the season, yeah, you can say that. What from the Steelers' 2024 season, including the 10-3 start and all of the actual things that went into it, good and bad, could have you do that? What's the benefit to A, bringing in this player at this age, B, assuming all that cost that you cite, even if it's just a 1 year, and thus preventing you from adding other players who could help you when you actually are ready, and C, taking up a space in the quarterback room that could be put to infinitely better use by adding a youngster from another team, by drafting a youngster in a couple of months. Mike Tomlin, Omar Khan, and Tom Arth, the Steelers quarterbacks coach, all took Jalen Milroe to dinner last night in advance of Alabama's pro day. That's the stuff I want to hear about. I know I'm not sitting here advocating for Milroe. I get that he's raw. I get that he's a project. I also get that he's somebody you would take in a later round. And you've got to do your due diligence to see if he's even a workable project. I want to bring that player into the fold, while at the same time having another quarterback to keep repeating this scheme I've concocted, if you want to call it that, going to get one from somewhere else in the National Football League. Younger, some potential, maybe who's been knocked down a peg or two. And if you don't like what you got in either of those two, and for that matter, you don't like whatever it is that Mason Rudolph does for you, then you've got the 2026 draft to try again and maybe try harder. Maybe go after a higher pick in what's known to be a better class at the position. But Rodgers and this, yeah, you know where I am with this. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Steelers. Don't forget, we have a double shot of Steelers coming your way at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. And we'll be back with another one of these tomorrow.